I'm so excited. I'll introduce Lisa in a moment, but I want to tell you a little bit about Lisa and embarrass her a little. She's probably listening in already, but Lisa's a world-renowned medium and clairvoyant. She has an amazing ability to communicate with people that have passed to the other side. She was born in England, and she was discovered by Merv Griffin and introduced to audiences through 2 seasons of her own hit show, Lisa Williams' Life Among the Dead, along with Voices from the Other Side and Lisa Williams Live. And all of these shows are airing all over the world. She's appeared on Anderson Cooper, Oprah, The Rookie Lake Show, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Larry King, Jimmy Kimmel Live. It just goes on. And this evening she's with us, so we're extremely honored. I know that Lisa performs in front of large live audiences all around the world, and she also offers workshops and courses in mediumship, psychic ability development, meditation, intuition, and very excitingly, Lisa launched the Los Angeles-based Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development, through which she delivers her classes with her own unique and hands-on methods of teaching. And through the school, she is able to offer people access to her personal training, and she certifies mediums and psychics as part of the LWISSD directory. Now, if you'd like more information about Lisa and her services and the school, go to lisawilliams.com. I'll remind you of that a little later on. But Lisa, we are so excited to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're really pleased to have you here, Lisa. I know you're extremely busy. Well, Lisa, I want to start by asking you a question you've probably been asked a lot, but we're really intrigued to ask as well. When did you first realize that you are a medium?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I didn't really think I was a medium until I would say, in my mid-20s, I think, mid-20s, early 30s almost, because I didn't want to put a name to it. I thought I was psychic, and I've been seeing dead people since I was a kid, but I didn't really consider myself as a medium, I suppose. I really considered myself as, a kind of a clairvoyant, psychic kind of person. And it was only when I came over here that I really fell into the term of medium, because, quite honestly, I suppose where, I did a multitude of things. So that's when I really owned my title, when I actually finally came over here 8 years ago.
Yes, I know you've been extremely busy in that time. Well, Lisa, I mean, it's fascinating that you say that you didn't give yourself that description or that title, but presumably even as a child, you've always seen spirits. You've always seen people in spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been seeing spirits since I was about 3 or 4 years old. So this is not something that only happened 8 years ago. This is something that's been going on for me for years. And I've been doing random readings and things like that in fact, now I've been doing it for about 20 years, but I've been doing it since when I was much younger. And it was it's so bizarre, how it all started. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, but I really never owned the expression medium.
Okay. And Lisa, I know that there are different forms of mediumship. So some people say that they see spirit, other people say that they hear spirit, other people say that they sense people in spirit. I'm interested to ask you how this works for you mechanically. So do you see spirit externally, or do you hear them speaking? How do you interact with spirit?
All of the above, quite frankly. And it really does depend on where I am. And I'll tell you why. If I'm in a country that doesn't speak English, or that it isn't their, let's say, mother tongue. So, for instance, if I'm in Norway, I will become very, very clairvoyant. But the majority of times I am clairaudient. And so that means I hear spirit. But what's interesting, and because of my study of mediumship and because how much I know about this, you will find that people who are very claircognizant, who know things, are often clairaudient as well, because it all works on the analytical side of the brain, and that's the reason why. So I am, if, in a normal reading, if I was reading for everybody, I think I would probably be very clairaudient, and then it depends. I mean, I can be clairvoyant too. So, you know, it's a hard one to answer.
It's very interesting, and I think you're right that some people realise what form of mediumship they're working with, because there are some quite blurred lines.
Yeah,
but I want to ask you,
because,
Lisa, you've helped a huge amount of
I'm sorry.
people. Sorry, it's okay. I've seen your television shows, Lisa. I've followed you for a long time, and I know that your ability is just amazing. And you help so many people. You bring comfort. But I want to ask you, how experiences with spirits always uplifting and positive, or have you had any challenging interactions with spirits?
You know, I think you're always going to have challenging interactions with spirit. You really are. And I haven't had any, I suppose, negative energies as such. I've had one or two that have actually turned out to be positive. It's normally, and I will tell you this, it's normally the living that give me the problems,
Yes.
as opposed to the dead. So I don't think I've had any major challenging ones, apart from the one I wrote about actually in my book, which Charlie named The Black Shadow, because there was this energy that came through as a black shadow and frightened the living daylights out of Charlie Barley, bless him. But you know, once I'd actually communicated with the spirit, I realized that he actually needed crossing over. And it was all very innocent. The only way of getting to me was through my son. So it wasn't really challenging. It was just, I suppose, just he used a different way of getting through.
Interesting. You know, I know that Charlie is your son. How old is Charlie now, Lisa?
Oh, he's 14 almost. He'll be 14 next month. You wouldn't believe it. He's growing up like, I can't believe I've got a 14-year-old.
Does he have an American accent or a British accent?
Well, actually, he's very good. He's actually very good with accents, and he has an American accent, but the Americans can tell the British accent. I can't hear it, but he will sometimes mimic me and put on the English accent, and he sounds absolutely hilarious. He really does. But he's very, very good at accents, so he can just turn it on and off. And I'm thinking, and I often sit there and question, who are you, and where did my son go, and all of those sort of things. It's quite funny, really. It really is.
It is. Well, Lisa, do you find that, or did you were the person in your family to have this mediumistic ability, or do you know of others in your lineage, I guess, that were mediumistic as well?
Well, my grandmother was a very well-known medium in the UK, so she was the one
Lisa,
that I suppose really... Hello? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Lisa. I've lost you for a moment, but I can hear you now.
That's okay. It does keep cutting in and out. So, but yeah, I mean, my grandmother was a medium. She was a very well-known medium back in the UK. And also my aunt, who was her daughter, also was very mediumistic. And my mother's very, very intuitive. And so, yes, I do think it runs down the family, so for sure.
What is your grandmother's name, Lisa?
My grandmother's name is Frances Glazebrook.
Oh, I know the name. I didn't realise she was your grandmother.
Yeah, she's my grandmother.
Wonderful,
you know,
wonderful.
I have to tell you this funny story. I remember a client walking in, and she looked at me and she said, she said, "Oh, you said you're very, very young to be doing readings." This was a while ago. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, I had this reading by this woman. Oh, she was amazing. You can't be as any good as her." And I thought, I was quite offended, really. And she said, I said, "What was her name?" She said, "No, Frances Glazebrook." Anyway, so I just said to her, I said, "Would you like a cup of tea?" Because in England, everyone drinks tea. And as I came back with her cup of tea, I actually brought back a picture of my grandmother, and I said, "Is this the person you're talking about?" She said, "Yes, how did you have a photo of Frances?" I went, "That's my grandmother, and if you start saying that I'm too young to be doing this work, then she'll come down and kick your butt," quite frankly. And it was so funny. And she just looked at me. I didn't quite say it as bad as that, but I did say, "She'll come down and kick your ass," which is what she would say. And she said, "That's just like, that's exactly what she would say." Oh, you know, and it was really quite funny, actually, I have to say. So, yes, I'm often compared to my grandmother.
Well, that's a great story. Well, Lisa, how about Charlie? Is Charlie mediumistic as well?
Well, you know, he is. He's actually an amazing healer. I have to tell you, his healing ability is absolutely incredible. But he's 14 now, and he's not sure what he believes. He's in this stage of skepticism, where he's not sure what to believe. He's got mixed views. He is also questioning a lot. So, from his point of view, he's really unsure. But he has, you know, he has got the ability, for sure.
Yes, and he's at that age where he's learning about himself. He's not sure what he wants to do with his life yet, presumably.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Well, Lisa, let me ask you, can you share a couple of stories with us? The two best examples, most striking experiences you've had of healing people by connecting them with their loved ones in spirit. I know that there are so many, but there are a couple of cases that really come to mind and stand out in your memory.
You know, gosh, there's so many. You know, I think I'll do one that everybody may know, actually. And it was one that happened last week. I read for Mackenzie Phillips, who was the daughter of the guy from Mamas and Papas. And this will just give you the impact of it. And there was a lot of problems in the family, and if anybody, you know, knows that story, and it came out a couple of years ago, if anyone knows what that story is, then they'll realize how much of an impact. There was a lot of abuse and drugs and incest going on. And her father came through, and it was absolutely unbelievable. And I was actually sitting with Dr. Drew, strangely enough, because I was doing a podcast. And the person was not in the room. She was actually on the telephone. So I had no idea who I was reading for. And just by her hearing from her father that he was sorry, that it wasn't all in her head, that it wasn't her imagination, that it was you know, that he had to blame. You know, you can actually hear the healing that was happening. And Dr. Drew was on the line, and he actually said, "I cannot believe the amount of healing that you are giving her just in this short amount of time, when, quite honestly, she's been through, you know, therapy and everything else." And everyone can listen to it live because, you know, it's out there in the world. And it was really unbelievable. And I didn't see it physically. I actually just experienced it over the phone. So that was just one. I mean, then there's another one where a lady had lost her child through to leukemia, I believe it was. And the child came through, and the child was so adorable, where he connected with everybody else. And I didn't know, but apparently there was a load of people in the audience. It was at a live show. everyone was in the audience who he'd been in hospital with, so some cancer survivors and everything else. And he went round and gave everybody a message. It was unbelievable what spirit can do. And I just stood there and I looked at probably about 8 different people and said 8 different things to them. And they all was like, couldn't believe it because it was exactly what he would do. And you can see the healing. And even though it's just one person that I'm reading with, everybody who's listening and everyone who is experiencing what is going on will get something from it. And it's unbelievable. It's just so incredible.
It's wonderful, isn't it? I don't think there's anything more healing than proving to somebody that the person they love continues to exist, that death is just a doorway.
That's right, it is. And I only had this conversation with somebody earlier on in the week who's actually dying. And I was asked to go and sit with her. And I sat with her and she said to me, she said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, why do you think?" She said, "Because I'm dying." She said, "But I'm very scared." And I went, "It's okay. Let me tell you." And we were talking about death and we were being very open and honest. And she couldn't talk to any of her members of family about it. But I sat there. I must have sat there for about an hour and a half just chatting with her and just explaining what happens when we die and where she's going to go. And these people that she's seeing are real. They're just spirits that are coming down to make sure that she's okay in the process of passing. So for me, it's absolutely unbelievable what you can actually do through mediumship.
It is. I had a terrible accident in my 20s, Lisa, and I passed to spirit. I was resuscitated, obviously, because I'm still here for the radio show. But I passed and saw my guides and members of my family and felt so complete, so loved. It's as though everything you've ever done that was problematic or wrong is just erased. So it's just the most amazing space to be in. Have you found in your dream state, for example, that you travel to spirit?
I do, actually, and I have also had a near-death experience, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's absolutely incredible. But yes, I often do a lot of rescue work, what I call rescue work of spirit, where I help spirit cross over. I will also help and teach others in their dream state, because so many of my students actually say to me, "Oh, you came to me in my dreams last night and you were guiding me and telling me about I don't know, a situation that was in their life." So absolutely, I do find that I share my dreams with people, and I have crossed. Because there's times that I wake up and think, did I sleep? Because I'm so tired.
Well, mediumship's exhausting. Maybe it's not for you, but I find if I do a full day of mediumistic readings, I feel really very, very tired. How do you feel tired when you've given a lot of readings?
I actually don't. I really don't, because what I've learned to do is I've set up a process of working, and it's something I teach all my students. And in fact, a lot of my students have actually said to me, after they've done my process and my procedures, they actually have more energy at the end of their day of readings than they ever had before as they were waking up. So, and a lot of it is involved movement, exercise, breathing, and also eating. It depends upon what you're eating in the day as well, to actually help your energy come through. And of course, protection is important. So for me, I get energized after a night of platform, after I've been on stage and probably given, between 20 to 25 readings. I'll be quite energized.
Well, it sounds like I need to come and do your course. But I want to ask you, Lisa, can you can you tell us a little bit about psychic protection? Because it's a question that so many people ask. How do I protect myself when I'm opening up to work with spirit? What are your practices?
Well, you have to remember that there's several ways, and what is right for me is not right for everybody else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the general gist. And the first thing is, while we can talk about fluffy white light and all of this, and the white light is protecting me, I have found in my experience, often the white light isn't enough. And people say I get so drained and everything else. So what I work with, and it's what I work with my students with, is a glass cube. And this glass cube is really a way of protection. So, and your listeners at home could try this. If they stand in front with a partner, place their hands up towards each other, so palm to palm. They don't have to place their hands to each other, but just probably a 3 inches away, and see if they can push each other over energetically. And you'll find that whoever's doing the pushing will tip the other person off balance. Now, if the person then decides to put up a glass wall, a thick glass wall between the two of them, you will find that the person doing the pushing can't get through, and it's stopping their energy penetrating through. And it's quite incredible when they do that. So that's one protection method. The other is you have to remain positive. No matter what is going on in your life, if you've got all sorts of stuff going on, you have to remain positive, because if you're negative, you're only going to attract the negative people and the negative energies. So that's another thing. And also grounding. There's not enough emphasis on grounding, and that's about really shutting down the energy, making sure we stay solid, imagining that there are, roots coming out of the tree, pulling in our aura, going and doing something normal. I mean, that's the most important thing, going and doing something normal. So all of these things really have an impact on our protection sources. But like I said, not one. You have to kind of do all of them. And that's what I found. And actually have a laugh. Go and have a laugh, because that really is going to help you.
That's wonderful advice, Lisa. I always say to people as well that I think one of the best ways to stay psychically protected is to also focus on our own happiness, to make sure that we're feeling good, that we're taking care of ourselves, that we do have a laugh, etc. Because if our energy, our frequency is higher, then we're more protected as well.
Completely, because when it's like our energy attracts the same vibration. So if we're negative, we're going to attract the negative energy. If we're positive, we'll attract the positive. And that's what stops us getting wiped out, and that's what stops us from doing a lot of things.
How about eating, Lisa? Do you find that certain foods facilitate good mediumship, or that others facilitate good grounding?
Yes, I've actually just recently done a whole study on this for a book that I'm going to be writing. But because quite honestly, if you don't look after what goes into your body, you will, your body's a vessel for your spirit. And so if your body's not feeling or having difficulty digesting the food, you are naturally going to hinder your connection, because you will. So food has vibrations. So let's talk about this. Whenever a medium craves red meat, it's because they need grounding. And red meat is a natural grounding substance. And so therefore it takes our body up to 3 to 4 days to fully digest it in our stomach, in our bowels, in our, colon, intestines, whatever it is. So therefore, when our body is going through that, we cannot the energy will naturally pull us down, naturally ground us. So when I was eating meat, if I craved a burger or if I craved a steak, I would actually say, when's my next reading? And I would work out when my next reading was. And if it was within 3 days' time, I wouldn't have red meat, which basically meant I hardly ate red meat. You know, but anything, if you can be vegetarian or as pescatarian, if you can really absorb the natural and organic substances that we have in the world, then your vibrations will be much higher. And I recently did a study on this where I went from, and I really did the study where I went from drinking soda, eating meat, processed food, all of this crap. And I did it as a study to see what my vibration was and my reading, and it was dull. It was dense. It was hard. My readings were hard. They were tough. Sometimes I felt like I wasn't connecting. And then I did a cleanse, which I'm actually coming to the end of. And I did a cleanse, and I found that I'm vegan. I eat a lot of raw food, and my readings are very connected now. And
okay.
I've noticed the difference. So I do honestly think food has an impact.
Yes, yeah. What's your view on things like coffee or caffeine?
I've never drank coffee and caffeine. Never drank coffee as such, but I used to drink Diet Coke and a lot of it at one point in my younger years, which, as we know, is just awful for you. But I never really drank it, so I never really drank hot drinks. So coffee, anything like that, tea, I never drank. But no, caffeine was never my problem. I drank alcohol. Not afraid to admit that. And even then, I came off all of that, and readings are just unbelievable.
So a really pure, clean diet.
Completely
helps.
As clean as you can get at the moment, trust me. No soy, no GMO, no gluten, no animal products, nothing.
So what do you eat? Literally, you eat fruits and vegetables throughout the day.
I eat fruits and vegetables. I eat a lot of superfoods. So I eat quinoa. I have a lot of very, very natural and raw stuff. And I've become an expert in Asian cuisine. I really have. It's amazing how all of a sudden I can cook.
Oh, wow, I love quinoa. It's one of my favorites. It's so good.
It grounds you, isn't it? Cooking grounds you completely.
Yeah. I find that if I've done a lot of readings and I feel a bit spacey, that going and working in my yard or going lying on the grass or, pruning trees and things like that really grounds me. And my animals, my cats ground me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Animals naturally ground us.
Do you have animals?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs, Max and Lucy. They are sheepoos. They're big, fluffy animals. Bless them, I love them. And it's funny how animals know exactly when you need them as well. So that's interesting.
They do. They really do. I remember when I moved to the States, I'd left my partner in the UK. We had a really tough ending to our relationship, and I was all bewildered and just found everything so far away and so difficult to get to in America. And I remember I went back to the apartment I was renting, and I went into my bedroom, and my 3 cats were right at the other end of the apartment, and I cried, but I didn't make any noise, and all 3 of them came from the other end of the apartment and got on the bed and just looked at me. They knew they knew psychically that I wasn't feeling good, and they came to me.
Oh, that's so great. I love it.
Yeah, It's really great. Well, Lisa, we're going to take a short break, just a minute, and then we'll continue. I've got lots more questions for you.
Perfect.
Okay, we'll be back in a moment.
A new era in psychic services has begun. PsychicAccess.com. You can connect with our psychic advisors by telephone or chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All of our psychic advisors are interviewed, fully verified and accuracy tested, assuring you quality service. We're living in some very troubled times right now. More and more, the world's problems are affecting us on a personal level. You don't have to deal with this alone. Our highly accurate psychics, caring advisors and talented mediums can help with situations you are currently experiencing and can let you know what the future may hold for you. All new customers get a free 6-minute reading. All you have to do is register. Why not visit us now and get a free reading at psychicaccess.com.
Hey, Lisa. So, Lisa, I want to, while we're on the subject of your research work and foods and things that facilitate our connection to spirit, can you tell us a little bit more about the book that you're writing, when it will be available, and some of your recommendations?
Well, there's several. I have to tell you, I've just completed one book that hopefully should be out within the next 6 weeks, and that is beginner's basic mediumship, and it's about taking an everyday person to connect with their loved one. You know, people have to realize that they don't need a medium to actually have that communication, and so therefore I do basic mediumship, and so that's one of them. Then my next book, which actually I have the paperwork sitting right next to me for, is soul connections. It's about really soul connections, our families, soulmates. But the one that I've been talking about regarding food, which is halfway done, and I wasn't realizing it was going to be a book until only the last couple of weeks, is actually based upon the anatomy of the human spirit and the cycle of protection, what I call the cycle of protection, and how we are, every part of our body is absolutely connected to each other, and the anatomy of the spirit and everything else within us. And so therefore I'm going to be discussing how we need to ground ourselves, how we need to protect ourselves, and really breaking it down, because I don't believe that everybody looks at it in the way that I look at it, because when I was teaching my students, I remember bringing this cycle of protection to them, and they went, wow, we've never seen it done like that. And I went, oh, okay. And so everybody raves about it, and it's really quite interesting. So I think that's my next book, really just breaking down the whole protection, the anatomy of the physical body and the spiritual body and how they interact.
That sounds great. Do you believe that, or find that, in effect, challenges of illness in the physical body is somehow a manifestation of what's occurring within the spirit or the soul?
It's interesting. Sometimes I can. Sometimes, I mean, I've looked at this as a question for myself, because I was severely ill for a long period of time. And I can understand on that situation, but I don't think it's exactly the same for everybody. And I do believe that some people, this has been pre-planned because they've got to learn a lesson from it, or it's been a situation of past life where somebody's had remnants of a past life that's still lingering and it's come back in this physical form. It could also be something that has been, is manifesting in the soul, and therefore it's coming out of the body. So I think it is a very individual, but yes, I do think that sometimes it has a part to play in it.
Okay. And I want to ask you, Lisa, about your guides. Everybody's interested in spirit guides. Do you know of your guides? Do you have the same guide or guides that you've always had? Do they change? How does that work for you?
They change and drive me mad, yes.
Okay.
I have a master guide. I'm very fortunate where I've been in touch with my master guide. His name's Ben. I also have a healing guide, because I do a lot of healing as well. I have a teaching guide, ironically, so I have someone that helps me with my teaching. So the master guide, Ben, has his job cut out because obviously he's actually facilitating and working with everybody else to make sure that they're all working with me correctly. So yeah, I mean, I do very much work with my guides. Absolutely, I love them.
Fantastic. And I have. Do you know of Coral Pold? She was a very well known psychic artist.
No, I don't actually.
Well, she's wonderful, and I'll have to send you some pictures of her work. I've got some very old newspaper clippings that were given to me, and she came through to me in a séance, and I've got a recording of her voice, and she was saying that, explaining what she now does in spirit, her work in spirit, how she continues to work with people on this plane to help them develop mediumship. And this might be a strange question that nobody's ever asked you, but what do you feel your role will be when you return home to spirit someday?
Oh, gosh. Well, I know what my role is here. And I believe that my role will return back into a teacher again. Could be as a guide, it could be as an elder, it could be in many, many different ways. But I do believe that I will return back as some form of teacher. In what capacity? I don't know. I would hope mediumship, because that's what I'm passionate about. It's what I know about. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just know I'm going to be somewhat of a teacher.
It's very interesting. And I want to ask you, Lisa, about your belief system. Obviously, you're working constantly with spirit. You've had many, many experiences of bringing evidence to people, proving to people that their loved ones continue to exist in spirit. And as you said, that's extremely healing. Could you describe or articulate your belief system, your philosophy?
My belief system is very wide, actually. I believe that anything's possible. And I remember a Jehovah's Witness actually really helping me with my belief system, unknowingly, strangely enough. They came round and knocked on the door, and they said, they started to talk, and I actually said, I'm sorry, you won't believe in my belief system. And there's one woman did start getting a little bit irate, but then the other lady stepped in. She said, if I hadn't have been brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, I probably would believe in what you believe. However, as long as we all have a belief, then that is what matters. And it kind of really struck a chord with me, and it made me realize that she's right. As long as we all have a belief in something, whether it's the fact that we are good at accountancy, music, mediumship, whatever it is, whether we and we have a very strong moral side to us and a very spiritual side, then you really can't go wrong. And I do believe there's spirit. I do believe there is, for want of a better word, God. And I do believe that we're all here to learn a lesson. And I do believe that we all congregate when we come, when we cross over and we meet our loved ones. And if you look at every religion has some form of afterlife. That there is an afterlife, and many people question what the afterlife looks like, but every religion has it. And it's interesting how there's that one common theme throughout.
It's true. And the one I find it interesting, Lisa, that the two things we all have in common, whether we have a spiritual belief system or not, the two things we have in common is that we are born and we will go home. We will die, or you can say we will return to spirit. We will go home. We all have that in common. But as a race, we're so obsessed with what occurs between birth and death. And as a society, really, we don't spend that much time investigating scientifically what does occur before human birth and after human death.
Yeah, it's absolutely right, and that's the reason why I wanted to write the book Survival of the Soul, because I wanted people wanted to know what happens when we die. People wanted to understand the cycle. People wanted to understand all of these things, and so quite honestly, it's very I don't know. It's quite interesting how no one really explored it or questioned it, and so I did.
That's wonderful. Do you feel that in our lifetime? I mean, I think you and I are about the same age. Do you feel that in our lifetime we will have a scientific community concurring with what we know, that there is life after death, that we can prove it scientifically?
I think we're getting to that stage now, because if you look at Greg Braden, for instance, he's he's merging the worlds between science and spirituality. Mm-hmm. There are many doctors out there, brain neuroscientists, all of these things, who are actually looking at the human brain, and they are acknowledging that there is an intuition, what side of the brain, what area of the brain, because as we know there's several parts of the brain. And so I do believe that we are going to get to that point within our lifetime, but it's whether or not people will believe it, and that is the hardest part.
Yes. Did you meet Candace Pert?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you meet Candace Pert, the lady that wrote Molecules of Emotion? I was fascinated. I know she's passed to spirit, but I was fascinated by Candace's scientific work. Really, I was thinking when she passed that the spirit must have had a much bigger project for her up there. But her work is wonderful as well. Lisa, let me ask you this question: who do you admire? Who are your role models, or who were your role models when you were growing up?
I think my biggest role model was my grandfather. He was very much an honest man. He was very honest. He had a lot of pride and respect. And what was interesting is there's only me and my brother who are, and you'll understand this because you're English, but there's only me and my brother as grandchildren for him. And he said to me, and we spent a lot of time with him, and he said, "I raised a gentleman, and it wasn't your brother." And I went, okay, meaning it was me. Because I was always on his coattails. I was always looking after him. I was always with him. So my grandfather very much so. And I don't know anybody else. I think that's probably my biggest one. And in my work, probably my grandmother, my grandmother who was the medium. I try and aspire to be as good a medium as she was. And that's I think those two are the biggest ones.
That's interesting, really interesting. I want to ask you, Lisa, tell us about, you might not have had this question. Can you tell us about your average week? What do you do during your average week? What does your schedule look like?
Gosh, my average week. Okay, well, it depends on whether I'm on tour or not. If I'm on tour, I can easily tell you that. I literally, because that's an average week for me, it's an average work week. I get up, I pack a case, I go on a flight, I go to a venue, I do a meet and greet, I do a show, I go home, I get into bed, and then I do it all over again. Okay? So that's easy.
But do you do that alone? Do you travel alone?
Yeah, I travel alone with a tour manager who's like my best friend. So, yeah.
Okay, okay.
But an average week for me here, I'm a mum first and foremost, so my day starts at 6:30. I get up, go and take the dogs out, cook Charlie's breakfast. Yes, he has a cooked breakfast.
Do you make him fried eggs and things like that? A good British breakfast?
He has bacon in the morning. He loves his bacon, bless him. So, I cook him his breakfast, then I take him to school. And then come 8 o'clock, in the morning I'm free, and every single morning, most mornings I do a reading at 9 o'clock. So my day starts with a reading, answer a few emails, and then it depends. So I'll write my book, I'll teach, I'll do interviews, I might have a photo shoot, I might have various different things going on. I've been filming this week, so, I might have filming going on. And then I will always, always, always pick Charlie up. So at 3 o'clock, I leave the office, and I go and pick Charlie up, and then I'm back home at 3:30, and then I'm with him. And we do his homework, we make sure that everything is done, and then I cook. And then I probably when he's in his bedroom, and he does a lot of making things and stuff, I'll get on the computer and maybe do a little bit more writing, answer some emails, and continue to work. And then on a Tuesday night, I teach a circle, spiritual development circle in my school, and then I run around after him. I take him to scouts and everything else. But as I sit here right now, I'm actually, as soon as I get off the phone from you, running in to do another interview with someone else. So it depends on the day. And then a Sunday, I always do my spiritual church as well. So it's kind of a bit crazy. It really is.
Well, what do you like to do when you switch off from work? What are your hobbies?
I don't actually switch off. I think that's probably my biggest downfall. I've actually just started to. I watch movies. I love watching movies. That's my kind of... I've started to do that with Charlie now. I shut down and I watch a movie, or we'll sit and talk, or I'll read a book, I'll play the piano, I'll do all sorts of... And I love creating a house, so I'll start looking online at light fixtures and things like that. So it's silly, but that's the stuff I do.
Well, that's interesting. I feel, when you said you like films, I feel that you will produce a film. Have you considered that?
It's interesting because I have been asked a couple of times if I would get involved in a couple of projects, and they've not been right for me. They really haven't. But yeah, that would be interesting because I, whenever I'm on set, I'm very visual, and a lot of the camera guys are like, "Oh, do you want my job?" And the producers are like, "Wow, you know your stuff." So yeah, it's kind of like that for me. It wouldn't surprise me. So thank you.
That would be exciting. That really would be exciting. Well, tell us,
Yeah.
I know you've got another interview, Lisa, so we just want you for a few more minutes, and then we'll let you go on to hopefully get a cup of tea or something before your next interview. Tell us about the school. So you've opened the school in 2013. We would love to know about that.
So I opened the school in Los Angeles, and we hold spiritual development circles, we hold classes, we hold yoga, meditation, Sunday service, all of these things. And I'd like to open more around the world. So therefore, people can have a place to come to. People can have a space that is very, it's spiritual. They can just come and sit, or they can just be, or whatever it may be. And so that's what I've done. I've created this one space, and now I'm just going to see where the rest of it takes me.
Excellent. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And you said you've got a book coming out in several weeks. Was that Soul Connections?
No, actually, this is my beginner's mediumship. So that's
yes.
going to be coming
Okay.
out, and that'll be announced on Facebook. And then I'm going back on tour. I'm going to be on the East Coast throughout America, so I'm going back on tour. So I'm kind of all over the place this year. Back to Australia, back on tour, back to Norway. I'm actually touring in England. So yeah, it's going to be quite good.
Great. Do you enjoy Australia?
I love Australia. It's like become my second home. And in fact, I've got really close friends in Australia now. So it's been really good.
It's funny because I remember working in the States and then getting on a plane, Qantas plane, to fly from Los Angeles to Sydney, and just the humour of the air hostesses made me feel like I was back in the UK.
Oh, yeah, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Which are your favourite places there?
I do love Ayers Rock. Going to Uluru has been probably one of the most profound things I did. But I love Sydney. I love the Gold Coast. I love Brisbane. I love Adelaide. I don't think there's anywhere I don't love in Australia. Yeah, I mean, I think it's because I have friends there now. I think that's the thing. And their heart, it's like a go-between of being English and American. I love it.
It is. It really is. I felt that as well. So which are your favorite places in the US?
Oh, Boston, for sure. I love Boston. And I've fallen in love, you would know Lilydale. So I've fallen in love with Lilydale, of course. I've just bought a house there. And I love the East Coast. I'm very much an East Coast girl. Why I'm in California, I don't know. But I'm here for a reason. Showbiz. Yeah, I know.
Well, Lisa, it's such an honor to have had you join us, and it's been our pleasure to hear you tell us about your work and your beliefs, even your hobbies, the places that you love. And we want to just thank you for all of the work you do, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Lisa. Well, good luck, and we'll be following you.
Fabulous. All right. You have fun rest of the show. Take care.
Will do. Thank you, Lisa. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Hello, my name is Res Miranda. If you're having relationship, career, or life issues, I'm inviting you to experience what it's like to have access to professional, highly accurate psychics and spiritual advisors you can trust to care and help you. Register now to get your free 6-minute reading by telephone or chat. Get answers, get access, psychic access, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. PsychicAccess.com.
Getting through.
Interesting. I know that Charlie is your son. How old is Charlie now, Lisa?
Oh, he's 14 almost. He'll be 14 next month. You wouldn't believe it. He's growing up like, I can't believe I've got a 14-year-old.
Does he have an American accent or a British accent?
Well, actually, he's very good. He's actually very good with accents, and he has an American accent, but the Americans can tell the British accent. I can't hear it, but he will sometimes mimic me and put on the English accent, and he sounds absolutely hilarious. He really does. But he's very, very good at accents, so he can just turn it on and off. And I'm thinking, and I often sit there and question, who are you, and where did my son go, and all those sort of things. It's quite funny, really. It really is.
It is. Well, Lisa, do you find that, or did you were the person in your family to have this mediumistic ability, or do you know of others in your lineage, I guess, that were mediumistic as well?
Well, my grandmother was a very well-known medium in the UK, so she was the one,
Lisa,
I suppose, really... Hello? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Lisa. I've lost you for a moment, but I can hear you now.
That's okay. It does keep cutting in and out, so... but yeah, I mean, my grandmother was a medium. She was a very well-known medium back in the UK. It's a hard one to answer.
It's very interesting, and I think you're right that some people realise what form of mediumship they're working with, because there are some quite blurred lines.
Yeah,
but I want to ask you, Lisa, you've helped a huge amount.
I'm sorry.
People. Sorry, it's okay. I've seen your television shows, Lisa. I've followed you for a long time, and I know that your ability is just amazing. And you help so many people. You bring comfort. But I want to ask you, have experiences with spirits always left and positive, or have you had any challenging interactions with spirits?
You know, I think you're always going to have challenging interactions with spirit. You really are. And I haven't had any, I suppose, negative energies as such. I've had one or two that have actually turned out to be positive. It's normally, and I will tell you this, it's normally the living that give me the problems
Yes.
as opposed to the dead. So I don't think I've had any major challenging ones, apart from the one I wrote about actually in my book, which Charlie named the Black Shadow, because there was this energy that came through as a black shadow and frightened the living daylights out of Charlie Barley, bless him. But you know, once I'd actually communicated with the spirit, I realized that he actually needed crossing over. And it was all very innocent. The only way of getting to me was through my son. So it wasn't really challenging. It was just, I suppose, just he used a different way of doing it. And it was it's so bizarre how it all started. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, but I really never owned the expression medium.
Okay. And Lisa, I know that there are different forms of mediumship. So some people say that they see spirit, other people say that they hear spirit, other people say that they sense people in spirit. I'm interested to ask you how this works for you mechanically. So do you see spirit externally, or do you hear them speaking? How do you interact with spirit?
All of the above, quite frankly. And it really does depend on where I am. And I'll tell you why. If I'm in a country that doesn't speak English, or that it isn't their, let's say, mother tongue. So, for instance, if I'm in Norway, I will become very, very clairvoyant. But the majority of times I am clairaudient. And so that means I hear spirit. But what's interesting, and because of my study of mediumship and because how much I know about this, you will find that people who are very claircognizant, who know things, are often clairaudient as well, because it all works on the analytical side of the brain, and that's the reason why. So I am. In a normal reading, if I was reading for everybody, I think I would probably be very clairaudient. And then it depends. I mean, I can be clairvoyant too. So,
I'm so excited. I'll introduce Lisa in a moment, but I want to tell you a little bit about Lisa and embarrass her a little. She's probably listening in already, but Lisa is a world-renowned medium and clairvoyant. She has an amazing ability to communicate with people that have passed to the other side. She was born in England, and she was discovered by Merv Griffin and introduced to audiences through 2 seasons of her own hit show, Lisa Williams' Life Among the Dead, along with Voices from the Other Side and Lisa Williams Live. And all of these shows are airing all over the world. She's appeared on Anderson Cooper, Oprah, The Rookie Lake Show, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Larry King, Jimmy Kimmel Live. It just goes on, and this evening she's with us, so we're extremely honored. I know that Lisa performs in front of large live audiences all around the world, and she also offers workshops and courses in mediumship, psychic ability development, meditation, intuition, and very excitingly, Lisa launched the Los Angeles-based Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development, through which she delivers her classes with her own unique and hands-on methods of teaching. And through the school, she is able to offer people access to her personal training, and she certifies mediums and psychics as part of the LWISSD directory. Now, if you'd like more information about Lisa and her services and the school, go to lisawilliams.com. I'll remind you of that a little later on. But Lisa, we are so excited to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're really pleased to have you here, Lisa. I know you're extremely busy. Well, Lisa, I want to start by asking you a question you've probably been asked a lot, but we're really intrigued to ask as well. When did you first realize that you are a medium?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I didn't really think I was a medium until I would say, in my mid-20s, I think, mid-20s, early 30s almost, because I didn't want to put a name to it. I thought I was psychic, and I've been seeing dead people since I was a kid, but I didn't really consider myself as a medium, I suppose. I really considered myself as, a kind of a clairvoyant, psychic kind of person. And it was only when I came over here that I really fell into the term of medium, because, quite honestly, I suppose where, I did a multitude of things. So that's when I really owned my title, when I actually finally came over here 8 years ago.
Yes, and I know you've been extremely busy in that time. Well, Lisa, I mean, it's fascinating that you say that you didn't give yourself that description or that title, but presumably, even as a child, you've always seen spirits. You've always seen people in spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been seeing spirits since I was about 3 or 4 years old. So this is not something that only happened 8 years ago. This is something that's been going on for me for years. And I've been doing random readings and things like that in fact, now I've been doing it for about 20 years. But I've been doing it since when I was much younger.